Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's show. My name is Spencer Walsh. Thank you so much for joining us here today, and we really appreciate it. So on today's show, Mueller has dozens of inquiries for Trump and the broadcast on Russia ties and obstruction. Find out what they are. John Kelly thinks he's saving the U.S. from disaster, and he calls Trump an idiot, say White House staffers. So we'll get into that, as well as the White House delaying tariffs on China. And a New York candidate backed by the National Democratic Party boasts of pro-life advocacy in private Facebook posts. So you got an idea to still back her? We will discuss. Ladies and gentlemen, newsflash starts right now. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's show. My name is Spencer Walsh. We really appreciate you being here with us today. And now we turn to Robert Mueller. So Robert Mueller, the special counsel investigating Russia's election interference, has at least 4 dozen questions on that's 48 questions. I mean, Jesus. On a exhaustive array of subjects. He wants to ask Trump and learn more about his ties to Russia and determine whether he obstructed the inquiry itself, according to a list of questions obtained by the New York Times. The open-ended queries appear to be an attempt to penetrate the president's thinking to get and the motivation behind some of his most combative Twitter posts, and examine his relationship with his family and his closest advisors. They deal chiefly with the president's high-profile firings of FBI director and his first national security advisor, his treatment of Attorney General Jeff Sessions, and 2016 Trump Tower meeting between campaign officials and Russians offering dirt on Hillary. So, yeah, but they also touch on the president's businesses. Any discussion with his longtime personal lawyer, Michael Cohen, about a Moscow real estate deal, whether they knew of any attempt by Trump's son, Jared Kushner, to set up a back channel during the transition, any contacts he had with Roger Stone, a longtime advisor who claimed to have had inside information about Democratic email hackings, and what had happened during Mr. Trump's 2013 trip to Moscow for the Miss Universe pageant. So, yeah, the questions provide the most detailed look inside the Mueller investigation, which has been pretty much shrouded in secrecy since he was appointed nearly a year ago in this office. This leak did come from someone outside the Trump legal team, not from Robert Mueller himself, that's for sure, or anyone in his office, because they rarely leak here. So the majority relate to possible obstruction of justice, demonstrating on how an investigation into Russia's election meddling go into an examination of the president's conduct in office. Among them are queries on how Mr. Trump had about his attempts to how Mr. Trump went about firing. Among them are queries on any discussions Trump had about his attempts to fire Mueller himself, or what the president knew about a possible pardon offers to Michael Flynn. What efforts were made to reach out to Mr. Flynn and seeking immunity or possible pardon? That's something he definitely, in my opinion, would have lied on. He would have been like, there have been none, but normally there's definitely a large email trace reaching out to Michael Flynn asking for some sort of pardon there. I definitely think that's true. So Mueller plan to ask, according to lawyers, questions read by the special counsel investigation to the president's lawyers, who compiled them into a list. The document was provided to the Times by a person outside Trump's legal team. So, yeah, and they actually come in, and apparently they are asked to say that in the article. So a few questions reveal that Mueller is investigating possible coordination between the Trump campaign and Russia. In one of the more tantalizing inquiries, Mueller asked Trump what he knew about campaign aides, including the former chairman Paul Manafort, seeking assistance from Moscow. What knowledge did you have of any outreach by your campaign, including Paul Manafort, to Russia about potential assistance to the campaign? No outreach had, of course, been revealed publicly. Jay Sekulow, a lawyer for Trump, declined to comment. A spokesman for the special counsel's office did not respond to a request for comment. The questions serve as a reminder for the chaotic first 15 months of the Trump presidency and the transition and campaign before that. Mr. Mueller wanted to ignore inquire about public threats the president made and conflicting statements from Trump and the White House aides. I mean, there has been a lot of those. They've really, especially in the beginning, kind of struggled to get their story together. It was really quite embarrassing when they did do that. And it was all about the president's private mission to Russian officials, a secret meeting on an island resort in the Seychelles, WikiLeaks' salacious accusations, and a dramatic congressional testimony from James Comey. And yeah, there is so much stuff to ask him about here. You can read all the questions, of course, online, but I don't think I'm going to do that for you here today. But we will break them down extensively here today, of course, as our lead story. So where are we right at the moment? So, yeah, Trump and the White House aides, conflicting statements. The president's private missions to Russian officials, that was when they had the Secretary of State or something like that, the foreign minister, Sergei Lavrov, in his office and, admitted some, major thing to, about secrets. I think something have to do with Israel. Oh, yeah, but I don't know. The special counsel also sought information from the president about his relationship with Russia. Mueller would like to ask Trump about whether he had any discussions during the campaign about any meetings with President Vladimir Putin of Russia, or whether he spoke to others about either American sanctions against Russia or a meeting with Putin. So, yeah, through his questions, Trump tries to tease out Mr. Trump's views on law enforcement officials and whether he sees them as independent investigators or people who should loyally protect him. I think the answer to that is quite clear. He requested James Comey's loyalty, and when he did not receive it, he was fired. So there is that kind of a little bit of a downside to serving him there. And if you don't give him his loyalty, and if you're not completely in allegiance to him at all points and times, so pretty much. For example, as we know, when James Comey was fired, the White House said he broke with Justice Department policy and spoke publicly about the investigation into Mrs. Clinton's email server, Hillary Clinton's email server, which was, again, quite laughable because it's not like anyone in the Trump team would care enough to fire him for that. And B, it was more Andrew McCabe from what we've heard. And it was just really not an excuse that made any sense to anyone, except for people who really, wanted to believe it. So, yeah, and wanted it as a cheap justification for an act they knew looked plenty shady. So, yeah, shady, I said, not the other one. But Mueller's questions put that statement to the test there by Comey, by Trump about this investigation into Clinton's email server. He wants to ask why time and time again Trump expressed no concerns with whether Comey had abided by policy. Rather, in statements in private and national television, Trump suggested that Comey was fired because of the Russian investigation. If you remember, two of those statements suggesting Comey was fired because of the Russian investigation came with Lester Holt's show, the NBC Nightly News. And where he was like, that Trump thing with Russia, I got to play that for you. It's definitely my favorite 3 seconds of the Trump administration. So I will play that for you in literally 2 seconds. But there is, of course, also the incredibly exciting, really incredibly exciting situation going on at the moment, or before, with when he invited the Russians into his office, told them classified secrets about Israel, and was like, that nut job James Comey's fired now, it takes so much pressure on my back. And I'm sure that had everything to do with Hillary Clinton. So yeah, I'm gonna go Trump, Russia, Lester Holt. Because I have to play that for you. That was probably one of my favorite moments ever. That was probably one of my favorite moments ever in the Trump administration. And we are going to play that for you right now. So here we go. I apologize for the waiting and the stalling with the waiting right now. It is finally over because here we go.
Showboat, he's a grandstander. The FBI has been in turmoil. You know that. I know that. Everybody knows that. You take a look at the FBI a year ago. It was in virtual turmoil less than a year ago. It hasn't recovered from that. Oh, and there's James. He's become more famous than me. Comey, my decision. It was not.
You had made the decision before they came in the room.
I was going to fire Comey. There's no good time to do it, by the way.
Because in your letter you said I accepted their recommendation,
yeah, well,
so you had already made the decision.
I was going to fire regardless of recommendation.
So there was.
Actually asked him, yes. I said, if it's possible, would you let me know, am I under investigation? He said, you are not under investigation.
All right, so that is him talking about it, and at one point he went, this Trump thing with Russia, it's very bad. It's got to go away. Yeah, you can look that up online as well. So it is quite something. It really is. Anyway, so yeah, Mueller, he has dozens of inquiries into this, and it's going to be very interesting to see how it goes down at this point from the future. So, many of the questions also surround Trump's relationship with Mr. Jeff Sessions. They've had a very tortured relationship. Probably one of Trump's longest-lasting, one of the real Trump OGs who have really survived. Probably the only real Trump hardcore OG guy who isn't pissed off or fired in some sort of way. And including the Attorney General's decision, this is where they want to know about it, to recuse himself from the Russian investigation, and whether Trump told Sessions he needed him in place for protection. He needed him as some support. Maybe they have something on that, and that could be a huge bolster to their little obstruction of justice case they got going on there. So, yeah, Mueller appears to be investigating about how Trump took steps last year to fire Mueller himself. The president relented after the White House counsel, Donald F. McGahn, threatened to resign, an episode that the special counsel also wants to ask about. What considerations and discussions did you have regarding terminating the special counsel in June of 2017? Mueller planned to ask, according to the list of questions, what did you think and do in reaction to January 25th, 2018, about the termination of the special counsel and Donald McGahn backing you off the termination? Referring to the Times article that broke the news of the confrontation. So, yeah, there was that little altercation reported by the New York Times in which he said he was going to fire him, and he ordered Don McGahn to go do it, and Don McGahn was like, I'm out of here. I'm not going to do this. So, it does make a lot of sense that he would ask about that. Mueller has sought an interview with the president for months. Trump has also expressed a desire to be interviewed, viewing it as an avenue to end the inquiry more quickly. His lawyers have been negotiating terms of an interview out of concern for their client, whose exaggerations, half-truths, and outright falsehoods are rampant. And some of these questions already, if you've been thinking about which ones he would have lied on about these questions, whether you put Jeff Sessions in for protection is a really good one. He may feel threatened by that and lie about that, because there is definitely something in here. This is the right answer. There is definitely something in here he would lie on big, big, big time. So, yeah, there is that. And that, to me, is quite important to know. So the list of questions grew out of those negotiations done by Trump's team and Mueller team. In January, Trump's lawyers gave Mr. Mueller several pages of written explanations about the president's role in the matters the special counsel is investigating. Concerned about putting the president in legal jeopardy, the lead lawyer, John Dowd, was trying to convince Mueller he did not need to interview Trump, according to people briefed on the matter. Mueller was apparently unsatisfied. He told Dowd that in early March that he needed to question the president directly to determine whether he had criminal intent when he fired Mr. Comey, the people said. So he needs to look straight into his eyes. He needs to face with Robert Mueller, the man who was investigating him. Yeah, speaking of the White House, how's it doing these days? Let's go inside it. In a new NBC News report,